it is pretty much time to begin. So once you've kind of checked into your posture and begun to get yourself settled, the invitation would be for you to close the eyes, taking the gaze inward. And as you begin to start your practice, one of the things I would ask you to just generally turn your attention towards is noticing just what you're feeling and what you brought into the room, into the actual practice today. And it is when I say notice what you bring in, it's not because I want you to look for any certain way of being. It's just I want you to pay close attention to the way these things are constructed, to the subtle nature of what it feels like if you're having a challenging day or if you're filled with joy. Like, what are those subtle sensations you feel in your body? How does it overlay onto your breath? What are some of the thoughts that come along with that? Like, these are the little nuances I want you to observe and take in. One of the reasons we ask you in meditation to find a steady posture is because then you can see from a steady posture how the energy flows and how the energy moves. I wrote down in my notes here, I said, be a tree. So this week I was reading about um, like the way trees grow out in nature. And so trees are have an interesting way of doing that. They grow in two directions. They grow up towards the sun and they grow down as a pull of gravity towards the earth. But they have to do this at the same time. Their root system and their fruit system kind of move in unison in two opposite directions. And it's through that that they get their strength to weather storms and to be resilient because the bigger the fruit system is, the deeper the root system goes to compensate. And I think our practice has space for us to do the exact same thing, to hold the best and the worst moments of ourselves in unison, and to give us space to kind of grow from those experiences rather than judging them or applying a label to them or pushing one out instead of the other. We use this practice to work to grow from the center through our opposites, beginning to bring your attention more narrowly focused on observing and feeling the breath. And I say it that way because you can kind of take the breath in two directions. You can observe it come in, feel it move through your body, or you can kind of drop into the body and just feel the breath moving from wherever it shows up in your space. Anytime we start to hold our attention in one spot to concentrate it, a new condition arises where we might feel that we're being pulled away from where our attention is focused. And when we experience that pull or that distraction, our minds can often have a story that comes with that. There might be a bit of frustration that arises, or just additional distractions. One of the ways that you can kind of balance that in a moment in practice where you feel like you are meeting resistance. Allow yourself to take a step back and simply be kind to yourself in that moment. To meet that moment with a bit of compassion. And then return back to the observation of the breath, to feeling how the breath is moving, to letting a rhythm settle in. And the power of our focus and our attention is as such that we can really hone it in. But the other alternative that you had with your attention is that you can really expand it. You can broaden the space of it. And so begin to soften your attention from being focused solely on the breath. And I want you to move it up to your visual field. So you're looking directly behind the eyelids, out into the darkness because your eyes are closed. I want you to take that field of vision wide. And as you rest your attention here, I also want you to notice whatever's present in this moment, whether it's a stream of thought, whether it's continuing to feel the movement of your breath, or it's a sound, or a taste, or a smell. Your senses each act as a receiver of information. And I'm asking you to kind of take a seat and witness the information coming in this moment. and holding our attention here. It's as if this is kind of where it concentrates. But we can take our attention even broader and wider, almost as if you take a step back from the space of the visual field and drop your attention in one of two places, down and in to your heart, or up and above the head, so that you're almost looking down on yourself from a little bit uh, wider field of vision. And notice how playing with those affects this moment to moment experience. Remembering that any time in practice, if you need to invite in or welcome in a bit of softness, a bit of compassion, a bit of patience with how you're handling each experience, you can invite that into the practice to welcome it in. Because our practice works in two directions as well. It is a practice of receiving all of the inputs that I've discussed thus far, but it is also a practice of giving yourself what you need in this moment. One of the ways that you can begin to give to your practice is through the use of our loving kindness mantras. Those are simply just phrases that you can kind of rhythmically fold into your breath pattern, to your meditation experience. And you use those the way you would use the anchor of your breath or any of the other sounds. Noticing how each of the words kind of feels and lands. So I'll give you the phrases, and what I'll ask of you today is to pick one of them, just one, and hold your attention with it, and hold it maybe in the space of your heart. And so the phrases are as follows: May I be safe and protected. May I be filled with joy and happiness. May I be peaceful. May I live with ease and kindness. May I be held in compassion. May I be safe and protected. May I be filled with joy and happiness. May I be peaceful. May I live with ease and kindness. May I be held in compassion. Choosing one of those phrases as your anchor, letting your attention focus on the repetition of the words in your practice. Even with this phrase as your anchor, notice the space available for your experience, that all the other parts of it are still occurring. There's room for all of this to coexist, and that there's a gentleness holding it together. Begin to allow your attention to come back to the center of your heart. You can begin to soften the mantra, allow that to be released. And as you bring your attention to the center, notice what feelings or sensations might be present in the heart space or in the body. Is there anything in this moment that's arising that you could give your attention and the energy of your heart towards with a little softness and a little compassion? Oftentimes, when we start to work on some of these softer practices, we can be met with this resistance, with this pattern of almost an idea, really. We might not be deserving of the things that we're wishing for. And if you encountered anything like that in your practice today, can you choose to let that go? Let that thought go, that belief release, and simply allow yourself to be here for what it's like to offer goodness to yourself, independent of everything else happening outside of your practice in this moment. In the last few minutes of practice, open your attention to the sounds in your environment. Allow yourself to notice the sounds that seem close to you and the ones that seem a bit further or have a bit more distance to them. Even if it's the sound of your own breathing, the ambient noise of a television playing in another room, traffic outside your window. In the same way that there's a pause in your breath, that there's space in your practice, there's silence in your sound. As we begin to close out practice today, may the merits of the work that you've done here not only support you, but help to support all beings everywhere. When you're ready, begin to blink your eyes open. Start to let all the information in. Feel that subtle shift as you transition from out of practice and it back to your active, ready state of the day.
Like and subscribe.